In this Star Wars Battlefront 2 news update video, I will be sharing with you an update from EA relating to upcoming Star Wars games that have not been announced. Plus, they have also released an update to Battlefront 2 this week, which has caused a ton of confusion. I'll be clearing all of that up for you in this video, along with a few other stories as well relating to the game. Before we do dive into all of today's news though, make sure you do subscribe to this channel so you won't miss any future Star Wars Battlefront 2 news updates. So, if you watched my previous video, you know that EA has been talking about Battlefront and Star Wars a little bit more recently. They had their earnings call last week, which I reported on in my previous video, and they discussed just how well Battlefront 2 has sold, how much money it has made them in the past quarter. So all good news for us Battlefront fans. Go check out that video if you haven't already for more context and details. But following that report and call with investors, we did get a brand new interview with EA's entertainment president Laura Miele, who discussed what could be happening in the future. Her interview with Variety was very interesting, and it did discuss a lot of the new confirmed games that have been announced and their own IP, but they did actually bring up something very interesting. Following EA cancelling their Black Panther game in May, questions from fans had arisen about if EA actually had a plan when it came to licensed games, which include Star Wars games. Miele actually did respond to that with an interesting quote. Now, this quote has been reworded and taken out of context by Star Wars fan accounts on Twitter, and basically have been used as, she confirms new Star Wars games that we don't know about are in development. But let's actually take a look at what she actually said and what it actually means. So, she said that EA's current slate, it tied to Disney and Marvel IP, not Star Wars specifically, Disney and Marvel, includes the upcoming Jedi 3 game, which we knew to be in development like over 2 years ago, alongside Galaxy of Heroes, which is still raking in millions of dollars every single month, believe it or not. It's like at $2 billion now in terms of revenue, something that Battlefront 2 could not even come close to. Star Wars The Old Republic is still thriving and doing very, very well, actually. As of recent times, it's doing very, very well, and even though they've handed it mostly off to Broadsword, they are still sort of keeping it in with the EA Star Wars brand. And there is also the Iron Man game as well. But Laura states a few other games that haven't been announced yet are also included in this slate. Now, many Star Wars fans and accounts have taken this as she's basically stated there will be more Star Wars games in development at EA. She confirms that, we just don't know what they are. Now here's the thing, EA actually signed a 3-game deal with Marvel. We already know of 2 of them, the Iron Man game and the cancelled Black Panther game. But there is a 3rd game that we don't know about, which is likely one of the games she is referring to. Who knows if they are developing even more Marvel games? We just don't know that. That said, fingers crossed, they are working on another Star Wars game. It's a bit weird they didn't mention Zero Company in this article. Yes, EA aren't actually developing it, it's being published by EA, but still, it should have been mentioned in my opinion, but whatever. What I'm saying is, don't listen to people saying this confirms Battlefront 3 because it just doesn't work like that. Games don't get greenlit within a couple of months. If they had ideas for Battlefront 3 as of May or June, it won't really get greenlit for a few months. We had one of the former Battlefront 2 developers come out and say it could take potentially 6 months before it's actually greenlit and starts proper production. The pitching process can take 6 months to Lucasfilm and Disney, so we won't even be at that point yet. It probably hasn't even been pitched if it is an active conversation. This takes me on to the next thing I want to share with you, because I've had a lot of questions. Why does EA want to make Battlefield 6 over Battlefront 3? It doesn't make sense. No one cares about Battlefield, this, that and the other. Well, unfortunately, the data says otherwise. Let's take a look at actual data coming from Google that has been verified, and it's about how many people have searched for Battlefront and Battlefront 2 versus Battlefield 6. We saw that reveal last week, which went viral. It has been a massive success for EA and DICE. Well, we can see that more people have searched for Battlefield 6 when it was revealed last week than the Battlefront 2 Resurgence that happened during May and June. It's almost double the amount of people searching for it across Google and YouTube, and this is something that matters as opposed to getting likes on Twitter. Now you might be thinking, well, this is a brand new game, right? Obviously it's going to be more popular than the resurgence of Battlefront 2. Let's take a look at how Battlefront 2 did when it was new and was coming up to release. Yeah, Battlefield 6's reveal eclipses Battlefront 2's release. Now, Battlefront 2's release in terms of searches and interest is way higher than it should be because of the controversy that it found itself in at launch. The few spikes before that at the beginning of the graph are its reveal and EA Play gameplay reveal. As you can see, it's absolutely not even close to what Battlefield 6 is doing on its reveal. Even Battlefield 2042 did quite well, not as good as Battlefront 2's peak, but compared to Battlefield 6, you can see why EA is focusing on Battlefield 6, because the interest is through the roof and completely obliterates what Battlefront 2 achieved. And a friendly reminder, EA don't have to pay around 30% of all the money they make off Battlefield to another company like they do with Battlefront. So, for example, if Battlefront 2 sold 10 million copies, it sold a lot more than that, but for example, if Battlefront 2 made $100 million, they would have to give 30 million of that, or thereabouts, to Disney. So that means they make 70 million as opposed to 100. However, if Battlefield 6 sold less copies and made, say, $80 million, they don't have to give any money away. They keep that full 80 amount. Both Battlefront made a lot more than $100 million, let me be clear, and Battlefield 6 is going to make way more than that, absolutely. But you have to take into account that they have to sell around 30% more copies and sell 30% more microtransactions in a Battlefront game, in a Star Wars game, compared to their own IP, such as Battlefield. This is why publishers don't want to do it, because the license costs so much. The interest in Battlefield 6 just obliterates what Battlefront 2 achieved during its peak. And it's unfortunate, but it's true. You can't argue with the data. That said, we need it to be a success. Why? Well, it would allow DICE to have more autonomy over their decision making. They went through a great run between 2014 to 2017. They released great expansions for Battlefield 4 and fixed that game. Battlefront 2015, along with all of those expansions, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Battlefield 1 and all of those great expansions, and of course Battlefront 2. However, following the disaster launch of Battlefront 2, Battlefield 5, 2042, they've not had the ability to do what they want, and they've been under a lot of scrutiny. If Battlefield 6 is a roaring success, there is more of a chance we get a Battlefront 3 after that, people start talking and having conversations about it, than if Battlefield 6 bombs, and it could really signal the end of DICE. Let's now take a look at how Battlefront 2 is doing in the PlayStation Store chart. So in the past couple of months, so May and June, it was the most downloaded PlayStation 4 game across PS4 and PS5, overtaking Red Dead Redemption 2, which held that title for 5 months in a row. As for July, this is what it looks like. Unfortunately, Battlefront 2 was not the most downloaded game in July. Red Dead Redemption 2 took back its crown after a couple of months away, which it had for 5 months in a row before Battlefront 2's Resurgence. So that's in the US and Canada chart, whereas on the EU side of things, Battlefront 2 unfortunately slipped down to 4th place, with Red Dead taking 1st place in that chart as well. Next up, I want to discuss an update that was released for Battlefront 2 a few days ago. It created a lot of conversation on social media, including the subreddits, and this happens every few months. For some reason, people actually think that DICE have released a new content update for the game, even though it's a very, very small update. And this only happens on Steam. It doesn't happen on the EA app at all. It's specific to Steam, but let me explain what happens. Every EA game gets an update where they update the EA app package inside of that game. So Battlefront 2 was not the only EA game that received an update. Jedi Fallen Order did, Jedi Survivor did. The Battlefield games, even Titanfall, got the same update. It's only a few kilobytes, and it's just a regular thing that happens every other month. I've talked about it many times over the past 4 years or so. There will be no more actual updates to Battlefront 2. We've already had former developers come out and say why that just can't happen. And like I said, DICE is all in on Battlefield 6. They aren't maintaining a game that hasn't had an update in 5 years. EA puts out these EA app updates every so often because it's necessary, and it just means the Steam versions of their games get an update, but it's not actually the game getting an update, it's just the EA app package inside of it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything I talked about in this video, so please do let me know down in the comment section below, and remember to drop a like to help support the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss any future Star Wars Battlefront 2 videos, and if you did miss any of my previous videos, please do click on the playlist on screen right now, and I shall see you in my next video. Goodbye.